Ethan Cole stood at the front of the crowded church, looked straight past Scarlet Hayes, and took the hand of the sister. Nobody ever chose. The whole town of Red Hollow froze. Scarlet's smile shattered. Her mother gasped, and Clara Hayes, the quiet one, the forgotten one, felt her knees buckle as 200 pairs of eyes turned on her like knives. Before we go any further, hit that subscribe button. Stay with me, all the way to the end, and drop the name of your city in the comments so I can see how far this story has traveled. Now, let's begin. The pianist's fingers slipped on the keys. A single off note rang through the church like a cracked bell. Then silence, the kind of silence that only falls when 200 people stop breathing at the exact same second. Scarlet Hayes was the first to speak. Her voice came out high and thin, not the golden laugh Red Hollow was used to. "Ethan, sweetheart, you stepped the wrong way." Ethan didn't let go of Clara's hand. "No, Scarlet. I stepped exactly the way I meant to." "Ethan Cole, what are you doing?" That was Mrs. Hayes rising from the front pew, her pearls trembling at her throat. "Everyone is watching. Everyone." "I know they are, ma'am." "Then you will stop this. Right now." "No, ma'am. I won't." Clara tried to pull her hand back. Her fingers were ice. She could feel every eye in the church burning into the side of her face, and she was sure, absolutely sure, that she was about to faint right there on the aisle carpet. "Ethan, please," she whispered so low only he could hear. "Please let go. You're making a mistake." "I'm not." "Everyone's looking at me." "Let them look." "Ethan, she's my sister." "I know who she is, Clara. That's the problem. You don't." Somewhere in the middle of the church, a woman laughed, a short, shocked bark of a laugh that she quickly covered with her hand. Another woman hissed at her to be quiet. A man in the back row stood up, then sat down again, because he didn't know what else to do. Scarlet found her voice. It wasn't thin anymore. It was sharp. "Is this a joke, Ethan?" "No." "Because if this is a joke, I swear to God I will never forgive you." "It isn't a joke, Scarlet." "Then you've lost your mind. Maybe I've finally found it." Pastor Willis cleared his throat. He had married 3 generations of this town, and he had never not once stood at the front of a church with his mouth hanging open like a boy at his first dance. He tried to speak. Nothing came out. He tried again. Perhaps we should take a moment." "We don't need a moment, Pastor," Ethan said. "I need to say something to this town, and I need to say it while everyone is still sitting down." "Ethan, son, Pastor, with all respect, sit back." The pastor sat back. Mr. Hayes rose now, big man cattle money voice like a shotgun being loaded. "Ethan, you walk out of this church with my daughter in 1 minute, or I will put you through that wall myself." "Sir, I am walking out of this church with your daughter." "Scarlet. My daughter is Scarlet." "Clara is your daughter too, sir." The silence after that was different. It was the kind that lives in a room long after the words are gone. Clara finally managed to speak, and her voice shook so hard she barely recognized it. "Ethan, stop. Please stop. You don't know what you're doing to me." "Clara, look at me." "I can't." "Look at me." She looked at him. His eyes were steady. They were the only steady thing in the whole building. "I know exactly what I'm doing to you," he said. "I am choosing you. In front of everyone who has spent your whole life pretending you were not in the room. That's what I'm doing." "Ethan, say my name again." "Don't." "Say it again, Clara." "Ethan, they will eat me alive." "Not while I'm standing here." Mrs. Hayes stepped into the aisle. Her lipstick was bleeding into the tiny lines around her mouth. "Clara Elizabeth Hayes, you come here right this minute. You do not humiliate this family. Not you. Not the one we—" She stopped. The whole church heard her stop. Clara's head turned slowly. "Not the one you— What, mother? Clara." "Finish it." "This is not the time. Not the one you took in. Is that what you were going to say in front of God and the whole town?" Mrs. Hayes' mouth worked around air. From the third row back, old Mrs. Tully leaned toward her husband and whispered far too loud. "Took in. What does she mean, took in? Hush, Martha." "Don't hush me, Earl. Did she just say?" "Martha, hush." Scarlett's face had gone the color of milk. She stepped toward Clara, and her voice was a knife, now low and mean and private, the voice she had used on Clara for 24 years in rooms where nobody else could hear. "You little snake. You planned this." "I didn't." "You waited. You waited for my day, my engagement, and you crawled up his leg like you always do, didn't you?" "Scarlett, I swear I didn't." "Shut your mouth." "Scarlett." "I said, shut it." Ethan stepped in front of Clara. Not loud, not dramatic, just a step. "Don't speak to her like that, Scarlett. Not in front of me. Not ever again. You don't get to tell me." "I do. As of right now, I do." Scarlett's hand came up. It came up fast, and for half a second, everyone in the church thought she was going to slap him. Then she saw 100 phones already raised, already recording, and her hand froze in the air like a bird that forgot how to fly. She lowered it. She fixed her face. She remembered in one sharp second who she was supposed to be. Her eyes filled with tears. Real-looking ones. Beautiful ones. "Ethan," she said, and her voice cracked in the exact perfect place. "How could you do this to me in front of our families? On the day we were supposed to... We were never supposed to, Scarlett. You told me you loved me." "I told you I respected you. That's not the same word." A sound came out of Mrs. Hayes that wasn't quite a sob. In the fourth row, Cole Whitfield, Ethan's business partner, finally stood up. Gray suit, gray hair, gray expression. "Ethan, a word. Outside. Now." "Cole, I'm a little busy." "Ethan. Now." "After." "There won't be an after, son. Not for the deal. Not for the double C contract. Not for any of it." "Then there won't be. Sit down, Cole." Cole didn't sit down. He walked out. His boots on the wood floor were the loudest thing in Montana. Clara watched him go. Her stomach dropped through the floor. "Ethan. Ethan. That deal was everything to you." "I know what the deal was." "You just threw it away." "No. I set it down. There's a difference. For me. For the truth." "Ethan. I am not worth." He turned to her, fully. Took both her hands now, not one. "Don't finish that sentence, Clara. Not today. Not ever again. You don't finish that sentence in front of me." She started to cry. She hated it. She had trained herself for 24 years not to cry in front of her family, because crying was what Scarlett did, and there was only room in the Hayes house for one girl who cried. But she cried now, and she couldn't stop. "Why?" she whispered. "Why me? Why today? Why like this?" "Because if I did it quiet, they would have buried it quiet. You have been buried quiet your whole life, Clara. Not anymore." Mr. Hayes stepped into the aisle, and his voice dropped low, pastor low, the voice he used when he wanted a man to know there would be consequences. "Ethan, you are a guest in our family, in our church, in our town." "Yes, sir." "And you are choosing in front of our neighbors, in front of God, to shame my daughter." "I'm not shaming Scarlett, sir. I'm refusing to marry her. There's a difference." "The whole town will say otherwise." "The whole town can say whatever it wants." "Do you understand what you are setting on fire here, son?" "Yes, sir, I do." "Then walk it back." "No, sir." "Ethan." "No, sir." Mr. Hayes's jaw worked. His hands opened and closed at his sides. He looked for a long, terrible second, like a man who had never been told no in his own church, in his own town, in his own life. He turned to Clara. "You. Come here." "Daddy." "Don't call me that. Come here." "Daddy, I didn't do anything." "Clara, I will not ask you a third time." And this was the moment. This was the moment Clara Hayes would think about later in the dark for the rest of her life. The moment her father stood in the middle of a full church and called her toward him like a dog he was about to put in the truck. And she didn't move. For the first time in 24 years on God's earth, she didn't move when her father called. "No, Daddy." "What did you say?" I said no. Somewhere in the back of the church, a woman actually dropped her purse. Mrs. Hayes stepped forward, and her voice was honey, now the dangerous kind. "Clara, baby. Honey. You are confused. This has been a long day and you are not yourself. Come with Mama. We'll sort this out at home." Quietly. "Mama. Come on, baby. Mama." Where was this voice when I was 8 years old, and Scarlett pushed me off the porch and broke my arm, and you told the doctor I tripped? The church went very, very quiet. Clara. Where was this voice when I was 12, and she cut up my only nice dress for the Christmas pageant, and you told me I should have taken better care of it? Clara, this is not the place. Where was this voice when I was 16, and she told everyone I stole her boyfriend, and I didn't even know his name, and you grounded me for a month because it was easier than calling her a liar? Clara Elizabeth. Where was this voice, Mama? Because I need to know when you found it. Because for 24 years, I was pretty sure you didn't have one. Scarlett made a small broken sound, a crowd sound, a victim sound, the kind she had perfected. It didn't land this time. This time, 200 people in a Montana church were watching her with different eyes, and Scarlett Hayes felt for the first time in her perfect, petted, polished life what it was like to be seen. She didn't like it. She reached for her mother. "Mama, she's lying. She's always been jealous. You know that. You know that about her. She—" Scarlett, hush. "Mama." I said hush, Scarlett, please. And Scarlett stopped, because her mother had never in her whole gold-plated life told her to hush. Pastor Willis, who had been sitting like a man who had accidentally wandered into somebody else's nightmare, finally stood up. I think perhaps we should close the church for the day." "Pastor," Ethan said, "one more thing." "Son, one more thing. Then we go." The pastor sat down again. He had given up. Ethan turned, so he was facing the whole church. He didn't let go of Clara's hand. She tried again to slip hers out of his. And he held on, not tight, just steady, the way you hold on to someone you are not going to let drown. "Folks," he said, "I know most of you by name. I've eaten at your tables. I've branded cattle with your boys. My daddy built half the fences in this county with your daddies, so hear me out." Nobody moved. I was going to marry Scarlett Hayes today. Most of you knew that. Some of you helped plan it. I owe you an explanation, and I'm not going to give you a pretty one. I'm going to give you the true one. Somebody coughed. Somebody else said, "Shh." For 3 years I have been coming to the Hayes house for Sunday supper. 3 years. And in those 3 years I watched a family treat one of their daughters like furniture. You move it when it's in the way. You don't ask it what it wants. You forget it's in the room until you need somewhere to set your drink. Mrs. Hayes made a sound like she'd been struck. That daughter, Ethan said, fed me every Sunday, made the biscuits, made the gravy, made the pie, and when I complimented the pie, her mother would say, "Oh, Scarlett picked out the recipe." Her sister picked out the recipe. Her sister who doesn't cook. Her sister who doesn't bake. Her sister who was sitting across the table accepting the compliment like it was air she was owed. "Ethan," Scarlett whispered. Scarlett. I watched her carry groceries up that long drive alone while her sister sat on the porch with iced tea. I watched her stay up with her grandmother the night the old woman passed while the rest of you were at a dance. I watched her write checks for this family from her own teacher's salary, and I watched her father cash them without once saying thank you. "That is private business," Mr. Hayes barked. "Not anymore, sir. You made it public the minute you called your own daughter like a dog in front of God's house." Mr. Hayes went red, then white, then sat down hard. "I was going to do what everyone expected," Ethan said. "I was going to put a ring on the pretty sister and build a life on top of a lie, because that's what our daddies did, and their daddies before them. And then last Tuesday, I sat on the Hayes porch at midnight because I couldn't sleep, and Clara came out with 2 cups of coffee because she heard my truck idling. She didn't ask what was wrong. She just sat down. She didn't talk. She just sat. And I realized I had never in 3 years of Sunday suppers had one single quiet minute with the woman I was supposed to marry. Not one. The church was dead silent. And I realized something else. I realized that every single time something good happened to me at that table, the person I looked at first was not Scarlett. It was the girl bringing the plates. The girl nobody was looking at. The girl who had been teaching me, without saying a word, what it looks like when love shows up on time and does the dishes. Clara had stopped breathing somewhere in the middle of that. So, no, Mr. Hayes. I'm not walking out of this church with Scarlett. I never should have walked in with her. And if that costs me the double C deal, it costs me the double C deal. I can make another $1 million. I can't make another Clara. Somebody in the back row, some cowhand who didn't even know the family well, actually whispered, "Lord have mercy." Scarlett stood up. Her chin was high. Her mascara had held barely. She looked at Ethan, and she looked at Clara, and she looked at 200 faces. And she understood in one sick flash what this town was about to do with this story. It was going to be told at every supper table in Red Hollow for the next 10 years. And in every version, she was going to be the one left at the altar. She would not have that. She would not. She turned her wet, beautiful face on Clara. "You think this is a fairy tale?" she said loud enough for every row to catch. "You think you've won something. You haven't. You have no idea what you just walked into, Clara. You don't know him. You don't know what he's after. And when he finds out what you really are, when he finds out where you really came from, he is going to drop you in the dirt so fast you'll think the ground came up to meet you." Clara's head jerked like she'd been slapped. "Scarlett, stop." "Oh, she hasn't told you, has she, Ethan?" "Scarlett, I am warning you. She hasn't told you who her real mother was. She hasn't told you what my daddy did to keep that quiet. She hasn't told you the reason nobody in this town has ever looked her in the eye, because nobody in this town knows." "Scarlett, for the love of God!" Mrs. Hayes screamed. The whole church turned and looked at Mrs. Hayes. Mrs. Hayes, who had never raised her voice in public in 40 years of marriage. Clara's face had gone the color of ash. Her hand inside Ethan's hand had gone limp. "Mama," Clara whispered. "Mama, what is she talking about?" Mrs. Hayes did not answer. Mr. Hayes did not answer. Scarlett's mouth twitched into something that was almost a smile. "Go on, Mama. Tell her. Tell her where she really came from. Tell her why she's always been our, what did you call it, our little project. Tell her, Mama. Tell her in front of the man she thinks is going to save her." Scarlett Ann Hayes, sit down. "Tell her, Mama." Clara turned slowly to her mother. Her lips were white. "Mama, what is she saying?" Mrs. Hayes opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again, and said nothing. And in that nothing, Clara felt the floor of her whole life give out from under her feet. Ethan's hand tightened around hers. He didn't speak. He just held on. And Clara Hayes, who had been called the leftover sister for 24 years in a small, judgmental town in Montana, stood in the middle of the aisle of the only church she had ever known, and understood all at once that she had never actually known who she was at all. The silence held for 3 long seconds. 4. 5. Then Mrs. Hayes sank back into her pew like a woman whose bones had quit. "Mama, answer me." "Clara, baby, not here." "Yes, here, right here. You tell me what she's talking about right now in front of God and Pastor Willis and everybody, because I am not walking out of this church the same person I walked in." "Clara, please." "Mama." "Later, baby. I promise you later." "Later has been my whole life, Mama. Later is how I got here." Scarlett let out a little laugh. Not a victim laugh. A real one. Mean and bright. "Told you," she said. "Told you it runs deep." Ethan turned on her, and for the first time his voice went low and dangerous. The kind of low that men in this town had learned over 3 generations to step back from. "Scarlett, one more word out of your mouth about her, and I will tell this church every single thing I know about you. Every single thing. And I know plenty." Scarlett's mouth snapped shut. "Try me," Ethan said. "Please, try me." She didn't try him. Mr. Hayes rose again, slower this time, heavier, like a man carrying something he'd been setting down in other rooms his whole life. That's enough. All of it. Enough. Margaret, get up. Scarlett, get up. Clara, you come with us. We settle this at home. No, sir, Ethan said. Son, I am not speaking to you. I know you're not, sir. I'm speaking to you. Clara is not getting in a car with this family today. She is my daughter. Is she, sir? The church sucked air. Mr. Hayes's face did a terrible thing. It tried for 1 second to be angry. Then it tried to be offended. Then it just gave up and went blank, and the blank was worse than either of the others. Ethan, he said quietly, you don't know what you are stepping into. Then tell me, sir, right here, right now. No. Then she doesn't go with you. Ethan Cole. No, sir. Clara's hand in Ethan's had gone cold as creek water. She was still staring at her mother. She had not blinked in a very long time. Mama, she said, and her voice was small. Now, small like an 8-year-old's. Am I yours? Mrs. Hayes closed her eyes. Mama, am I yours? Clara. Answer me. I raised you, baby. That is not the same word. Mrs. Hayes started to cry. Not the pretty crying, the ugly kind, the kind that came from a place she had kept padlocked for 24 years. Clara, honey, I did the best I could. Am I yours, Mama? You are mine. You have always been mine. Did you give birth to me? Mrs. Hayes opened her mouth and did not answer. Clara made a sound. It wasn't a word. It was the sound a person makes when something they were standing on gives way, and they haven't hit bottom yet. Ethan caught her under the arm before her knees went. I've got you. I've got you, Clara. Look at me. Ethan, look at me. Don't look at them. Look at me. Ethan, she's not my. Look at me. Who am I? You are Clara. You are Clara Hayes. You are the woman I just picked in front of God and this whole town, and you don't need another name to be her. Do you hear me? Ethan. Do you hear me, Clara? She nodded, barely. Good. Now we walk. We walk out that door right now together, and we do not answer one more question in this building. Can you walk? I don't know. Then I'll carry you. Don't carry me. They'll say, I don't care what they say. Can you walk? She breathed in. She breathed out. She straightened her back 1 degree at a time, like a woman learning a new body. I can walk. Then walk with me. He stepped. She stepped. And the aisle of the church opened up in front of them like a river splitting around a rock. Mr. Hayes moved to block them. Ethan stopped. Sir? Ethan, she is a Hayes. Is she? Move, Ethan. No, sir. You move. Son, Mr. Hayes, I have known you my whole life. I have respected you my whole life. I am asking you man to man one time to step aside and let this woman walk out of this building with her dignity. One time, sir. Mr. Hayes didn't move. From the back of the church, a voice nobody expected spoke up. Move, Henry. Heads turned. It was old Pastor Willis's wife, Miss Ada, 81 years old, who had buried 2 husbands and taught half the town's Sunday school. I said move Henry Hayes. That girl fed my mother the last 6 weeks of her life when you and yours couldn't be bothered to drive across town. You move. Mr. Hayes' jaw ticked. He moved. Not much. Just enough. Ethan walked Clara past him. Clara did not look at her father. She did not look at her mother. She did not look at Scarlett. She looked at the door, and the door alone, and her feet carried her the way feet carry a person through the worst dream of their life. They reached the backs of the church. Ethan pushed the door open with his shoulder. The afternoon light hit Clara in the face, and she flinched like it hurt. Behind them, the church erupted. Not yelling. Worse, whispering. 200 people whispering at once sounds like a swarm. Ethan kept walking. His truck was at the end of the lot. He walked her to the passenger side, opened the door, lifted her in like she was made of something that might break, and shut the door. He went around, got in, and didn't start the engine. Clara. Don't. Clara, breathe. I am breathing. No, you're not. In deep. Come on. She breathed in. It came out as a sob. Ethan, she didn't answer me. I know. She didn't answer me. I know, honey. 24 years. 24 years Ethan and she didn't answer me. I'm going to start this truck. Ethan, who am I? You're Clara, same as this morning. This morning I had a mother. He didn't have a word for that. He put his hand on the back of her neck, steady, warm, and started the truck. They pulled out of the church lot. Behind them, 3 or 4 people had come onto the steps to watch them go. Phones up, of course, phones up. Ethan didn't wave, didn't flip them off, didn't do anything, just drove. A mile outside of town, Clara spoke again. You just threw your whole life away. I didn't throw anything. The double C deal. Cole Whitfield is a drama queen. He'll be calling my phone by Tuesday. He won't. He will. Ethan, I am a stranger. I am a stranger to my own mother. I don't even know what name is supposed to be on my birth certificate. Then we'll find out. What? I said, then we'll find out. Together. First thing tomorrow. County clerk, hospital records, whatever it takes. We find out. And whatever your name is, it's still you. You understand me? Whatever the paper says, it's still you. She started to cry again. Quieter this time. The kind of crying that comes from a place way deeper than the first kind. Why are you being like this? Like what kind? He was quiet a long moment. Clara, if that's the question you have to ask, then this town has done a worse job on you than I thought. She put her forehead against the window and cried for 6 more miles. Back at the church, the war was already starting. Scarlett stood in the aisle, chin up, eyes wet in exactly the right amount, and she turned to the crowd with the voice she used for funerals. I am so sorry, everyone. I am so sorry you had to see that. My sister she has struggled for a long time with feeling left out. And I think today it all came apart. I want you all to pray for her. Please. Mrs. Tully from the 3rd row, who had known Scarlett since she was 3, narrowed her eyes. Honey. Yes, Miss Martha. Your mama didn't answer that girl's question. My mama was upset. Your mama didn't answer. Miss Martha, please. Don't Miss Martha me, Scarlett. I have bounced you on my knee. Your mama didn't answer. Scarlett's face tightened. Just a flicker. Then the mask came back. We are a family, Miss Martha. Families have private things. Not when you bring them into the Lord's house, baby. Scarlett turned away, and her mother caught her arm. Scarlett, home, now. Mama! Home, now. Mr. Hayes was already walking out. Big man, heavy boots, eyes nowhere. The Hayes family got in their Cadillac. Nobody spoke. Nobody. Until they pulled into the long drive of the Hayes ranch house, and Mr. Hayes turned off the engine and sat with his hands on the wheel for a full minute. Then he said low, Margaret. Henry. He's going to find out. Henry. He's going to find out, Margaret. He's a Cole. They don't let go of a bone. Henry, please. You should have told her when she was 12. I told you when she was 12. And Scarlett was 15 and having her own troubles, and you know what she was like, you know what she would have. And so we let the other one pay for it. Henry, we let the other one pay for all of it, Margaret, and now it's coming for us. From the back seat, Scarlett said very quietly, She has no proof. Both parents turned slowly. What did you say, Scarlett? I said she has no proof. Whatever she thinks she knows. Whatever he thinks he's going to find. It doesn't exist on paper. You made sure of that, Daddy. Remember? Mr. Hayes looked at his older daughter for a long time. Scarlett. Yes, Daddy. There is something wrong with you. Daddy? There has always been something wrong with you. I have tried my whole life not to see it. I am tired, Scarlett. I am tired today. Daddy, that's not fair. Get out of the car, Scarlett. Just get out. I need a minute. Scarlett got out. She slammed the door. She walked up the porch steps with her wedding dress train dragging in the dust, and she did not cry. Not a drop. She went inside. She went up the stairs. She went into her room. She closed the door. She locked it. And then, very calmly, she picked up her phone and began to type. Ethan drove Clara to the Cole Ranch, not his main house. The old foreman's cottage set back in the pines where his grandmother had lived out her last years. Quiet place. Small place. Wood stove and a front porch and 3 rooms. He parked. He didn't get out yet. Clara. I'm going to say something and I want you to hear it. Okay. You don't have to decide anything today. Not about me. Not about them. Not about tomorrow. Today you just have to be somewhere safe. This is somewhere safe. That's all this is. Ethan. Yeah. What if I'm nobody? You're not. What if the paper says I'm nobody? Then the paper is wrong. She turned her head and looked at him for the first time in 20 minutes. Why did you really pick me, Ethan? Because you were the only person in that house who ever asked me how my day was. In 3 years. That's it. That's a lot, Clara. That's not enough to throw away a wedding over. It's enough to start with. And the rest? The rest I'll tell you when you're not the color of paper. She almost smiled. Almost. It ghosted across her mouth and left again. Can I sit on the porch? You can do anything you want. Can I sit on the porch and not think, yes? He got out. He came around. He opened her door. He didn't offer a hand because he knew somehow that she needed to stand up on her own right now. She did. It took a second. They went to the porch. He sat in one chair. She sat in the other. The wind moved in the pines. She sat for 20 minutes without speaking. Then she said, Ethan. Yeah. Can you find out for me? Find out what? Who I am. Yes. Before I ask her again, because if I ask her again without knowing, she'll lie, and I'll believe her because she's my mama, and I've been believing her my whole life. I'll find out. How? The hospital, the county, Ada Willis. Ada. Miss Ada knows everything that happened in this town for the last 60 years. She told your daddy to move Clara. Did you hear her? I heard her. Ada knows something. Ada has always known something. Clara closed her eyes. Ethan? Yeah. Am I going to survive this? Yes, ma'am. You don't know that. Yes, ma'am, I do. How? Because you already survived 24 years of them, Clara. The hard part is behind you. You just don't know it yet. She started to cry again softly, and he didn't try to stop her. He just sat in the other chair and let her have it. His phone buzzed. He pulled it out, looked at it, his jaw locked. Clara. Somebody just put a video on the internet. Of the church. Of the church. She sat up, wiped her face. Show me. You don't need to. Show me, Ethan. He showed her. He held the phone. They watched it together. 38 seconds. Shaky. The angle was bad, but the audio was perfect. Scarlett's voice loud and clear. You have no idea what you just walked into, Clara. You don't know him. You don't know what he's after. And when he finds out what you really are, when he finds out where you really came from, he is going to drop you in the dirt so fast you'll think the ground came up to meet you. Under the video, a caption. My sister had a breakdown at my engagement today. Please pray for her. Our family is devastated. She has always struggled. We love her. It had already been shared 406 times. Clara looked at it. She looked at it for a long time. Then she did something Ethan did not expect. She laughed. Short and sharp, not a happy laugh. She's fast, isn't she? Yeah. She's always been fast. I used to be surprised by it. I'm not anymore. Clara. What's the count now? 412. It'll be 10,000 by tomorrow. Probably. And every one of those 10,000 will think I'm the one who had the breakdown. Probably. She stood up. Where are you going? Inside. I need water. Clara. Ethan, I'm okay. I promise. I just need water." He watched her go in. He heard the tap run. He heard it stop. He heard her put the glass down soft on the counter. Then he heard something he did not expect. He heard her laugh again. Different this time. A small laugh, almost amused. Almost. She came back out. "Ethan?" "Yeah." "Do you have a lawyer?" "I have 3. "Call the meanest one." He looked up at her. She was standing very straight. She was still pale. Her eyes were still red. But something in her face had moved, had shifted, had settled in a new place. "Clara, my whole life," she said, "I have let her write the story. Every Christmas, every birthday, every school dance, every time I walked into a room, she got there first, and she wrote me in as the sad one, the slow one, the jealous one, the one to feel sorry for. And I let her, because it was easier, because I was tired, because I didn't think anyone would believe me." "Clara, she just made a mistake, Ethan." "What mistake?" "She put it on video." He didn't say anything. "Call the lawyer." "I'll call him. Tell him I want every word of that video transcribed, and I want it ready by morning. Okay? And Ethan." "Yeah. Find out who I am, please, before she figures out what I'm doing. Because once she figures out I'm not going to lay down for this, she is going to burn every piece of paper in that house." He stood up. "Clara." You just changed." "No, I didn't." "Yes, ma'am, you did. 5 minutes ago you couldn't walk." "I can walk now, Ethan. I can walk real good." She went back inside for more water. Ethan stood on the porch and watched the door close behind her. Then he pulled up a contact on his phone, pressed call, and said, "Miss Ada, it's Ethan Cole. I'm calling in a favor I have never called in before. I need you to tell me about a baby that came to the Hayes house 24 years ago, and I need you to tell me tonight." There was a long pause on the other end. Then old Miss Ada Willis, 81 years old. 2 dead husbands. The only Sunday school teacher this county had ever been afraid of said softly, "Ethan, you sit down for this one son. You sit down." Ethan sat down on the porch step. He had not planned to. His legs made the decision. "Miss Ada." "You sitting, son?" "I'm sitting." "Then listen. And don't talk till I say. Can you do that?" "Yes, ma'am. I was there the night that baby came to the Hayes house. I was 47 years old, and I was helping my Willis deliver the last rites for a woman 2 doors down from Henry and Margaret's place. It was February, snow up to the porch rail. And around 11 o'clock at night a truck came up the Hayes drive, and it wasn't Henry's truck." "Whose was it?" "Son," I said, "don't talk." "Yes, ma'am. It was a man named Walter Briggs. You wouldn't know him. He died in '99. He drove trucks between here and Billings. And he pulled into the Hayes drive with a baby wrapped in a wool coat, and he walked that baby up to Margaret's front door, and I watched Margaret take that baby inside like she'd been expecting it. Because she had been." "Miss Ada, I told you not to talk." "Yes, ma'am." 2 days later, Margaret walked out of that house with a baby on her hip and told this town she'd been on bed rest in Billings with a difficult pregnancy, and the good Lord had finally answered her prayers. And not one soul in Red Hollow asked a question. Because Margaret Hayes was Margaret Hayes, and Henry Hayes owned half the cattle in this county, and in this town you do not ask a question you don't already know the answer to. Ethan's hand had gone white around the phone. "Miss Ada, whose baby was it?" There was a pause, a long one. "Ethan?" "Miss Ada, please." "The baby was Margaret's sister's." "Margaret has a sister." Had a sister. Rose. Younger than her by 9 years. Rose got herself in some trouble up in Billings, the kind of trouble a Hayes daughter was not allowed to come home with. Henry would not have her in this house. He would not have her name spoken at his table. And when Rose had that baby, and then took sick, real sick, and couldn't keep her, she called her big sister Margaret from a hospital bed and said, "Maggie, you take her. Because you're the only one who's going to tell her she was wanted." And Margaret took her. Margaret took her. And Rose died 3 weeks later, and Henry buried that whole story so deep even the dirt forgot. Miss Ada. Yes, son. Clara doesn't know any of this. Clara doesn't know a word of it. Does Scarlett? Another pause. Scarlett was 4 years old when that baby came home, Ethan. 4-year-olds see things. 4-year-olds hear things. And Scarlett Hayes has been a clever child since she could crawl. I have suspected for about 20 years that Scarlett knows exactly where her sister came from. And I have suspected for about 20 years that she has been using it. Using it how? Son, you grew up in this town. You tell me. Why do you think Clara Hayes spent 24 years apologizing for being in a room? Ethan closed his eyes. Miss Ada, is there paper? On the baby. On the baby. Henry Hayes paid a man in Billings a great deal of money to make a birth certificate that says Margaret Hayes is her mother. That paper is in a file cabinet in his study. I would bet my late husband's pension on it. And the real paper? The real paper is in a box in my attic. Ethan's breath caught. Miss Ada, Rose Hayes was my Sunday school student when she was 12, Ethan. She loved that baby. She loved that baby before that baby was even born. And when Margaret came to me 6 months after the baby came home, and she was scared Henry was going to destroy anything that told the truth, I told her bring me the hospital papers. I will keep them. I will keep them till that child is old enough to ask. And Margaret brought them. And I have kept them for 24 years. Miss Ada. Son, I am coming to your house. I figured you were. Tonight. I'll put the coffee on. Miss Ada, one more thing. Yes, son. Does Clara have a right to those papers? Ethan Cole, that girl has the only right to those papers. Those papers are hers. They have always been hers. I have just been keeping them warm. He hung up. He sat on the step for a minute and did not move. Then he stood up and went inside. Clara was at the kitchen window with an empty water glass in her hand. She had not drunk any of it. She had just been holding it. Ethan. Clara put the glass down. Sit. What did she say? Sit, honey. Ethan, what did she say? He put his hands on her shoulders. Gentle. Steady. You have a mother. Her name was Rose. She loved you. She was 21 years old and she was sick, and she asked her sister Margaret to raise you because she couldn't. And she died 3 weeks after you came home. And the woman who raised you is your aunt, and the man who gave you his last name is your uncle, and Miss Ada Willis has your real papers in a box in her attic. Clara did not fall. She did not faint. She did not cry. She just stood there with the empty glass and stared at his shirt button. Rose. Rose. I had a mother named Rose. You had a mother named Rose. Ethan. Yeah. Rose, did she hold me? His eyes stung. He had not expected the question. Miss Ada said she loved you before you were even born, Clara. I would imagine she held you every minute she was allowed to. Clara set the glass down on the counter with great care, like it was a thing that could still break her. Rose. Yeah. I have a mother named Rose. Yeah, honey. And then she went down. Not all the way. Her knees buckled, and he caught her, and they ended up sitting on the kitchen floor, with her face in his shoulder. And she cried the kind of cry a person has been saving up for 24 years without knowing it. He did not say anything. He just held on. 12 miles away, in a locked bedroom in the Hayes house, Scarlett was on her third phone call. Hey, it's me. Listen, yes, I know you saw it. Everybody saw it. That's not what I'm calling about. I need a favor. A big one. Are you sitting down? She listened. No, listen. I need you to call your cousin at the bank. I need to know every deposit Ethan Cole has made into any account connected to my sister in the last 6 months. Yes. Yes, I know it's not legal. I don't care. I'll handle that part. Just get me the numbers. She listened again. Because, sweetheart, if I can show this town that he was paying her before today, then this isn't a love story, is it? It's something else. And this town knows exactly what to call something else. Another pause. Good boy. Call me back by 10. She hung up. She sat on the edge of her bed in her wedding dress. She had not taken it off. She was not going to take it off until she had fixed this. There was a knock at her door. "Go away, Mama." "Scarlett, it's your father." She went still. "Daddy." "Open the door, Scarlett." "Daddy, I'm not decent." "Open the door or I take it off the hinges. You know I will." She opened the door. Mr. Hayes stood there. He looked 10 years older than he had at breakfast. "Scarlett?" "Daddy." "Who were you on the phone with?" "Nobody." "Scarlett." "A friend." "Scarlett, I am going to ask you this one time, and I want you to understand that whatever you answer, I will remember until I am in the ground. Are you trying to hurt that girl further?" "Daddy." "Are you?" "Daddy, she humiliated this family in front of the whole town. She did not do one thing, Scarlett. Ethan Cole did. And you went on the internet and made her the villain, and you think I don't know. You did it, but I know you did it. Martha Tully called your mother. She saw you typing in the parking lot." Scarlett. "Daddy, I was defending—" "Stop." "Daddy." "Stop, Scarlett. I am begging you. For once in your life, stop." She looked at her father, and something cold moved behind her eyes. Something she had been hiding since she was small. "Daddy, do you love me?" "What kind of question is that, girl? Do you love me more than her?" Mr. Hayes did not answer. He did not answer. Scarlett's mouth curled. "There it is." "Scarlett." "There it is, Daddy. That's the answer. That's been the answer my whole life. You married Mama because she was pretty, and you had a daughter with her, and you were supposed to love that daughter, and then her sister's mistake showed up on our porch in a wool coat, and you loved her more the minute you laid eyes on her, didn't you? Didn't you, Daddy?" "Scarlett, that is not true." "Yes, it is. I was 4. I remember. I remember you holding her on the couch and crying. I have never seen you cry over me, Daddy, not once in my whole life." "Scarlett, you stop that." "No, Daddy, I will not stop that. You know what I did with that, Daddy. I survived it. I made sure that every person who walked into this house looked at me first. I made sure of it. Because if I didn't, you wouldn't. You would look at her. And I was not going to be invisible in my own house. I was not." "Scarlett?" "Get out of my room, Daddy." "Scarlett, we have to fix this, tonight, before Ethan finds—" "He already found." Mr. Hayes went white. "What?" "Ada Willis called Mama 20 minutes ago. She called to say Ethan just called her. Mama is downstairs having a nervous breakdown in the pantry. Go take care of your wife, Daddy. I have things to do." "Scarlett, what are you about to do?" "Fix it, Daddy. Isn't that what you wanted?" "Scarlett, no. Not like this. Not, get out of my room." He got out of her room. He had never in 40 years of being that girl's father felt afraid of her. He did now. He closed the door behind him. He went downstairs, and Margaret was in fact in the pantry, sitting on the floor, with her back against the flower shelf, holding her face in both hands. Maggie. Henry, she knows. She knows Henry. I know. Ethan called Ada. Ada told him. Everything, Henry. Everything. I know, Maggie. What do? We tell the truth. Henry, I cannot. Maggie, for 24 years we have been telling a lie because you loved your sister and I loved my name. The lie is over. There is no more lie. We tell the truth. Henry, Scarlett. Scarlett is her own problem now, Maggie. I cannot carry her anymore. I have carried her for 30 years, and I am tired. Margaret started to cry. Is she going to hate me, Henry? Clara. I don't know, Maggie. I don't know. But she has the right to. Ethan helped Clara up off the kitchen floor. He sat her in a chair. He put a glass of water in her hand, and this time he watched until she drank some of it. Clara. I have to go somewhere. 1 hour, maybe 2. Where? Miss Ada's. She nodded. She knew. Clara, I don't want to leave you alone. I'm not alone, Ethan. I have a mother named Rose now. I am going to sit in this kitchen and think about her for 2 hours. That is not alone. His throat closed up. Clara. Go. Lock the door behind me. Okay. Don't answer the phone. Okay. If a car comes up the drive, you go in the back bedroom and you close the door and you call me. Ethan? Yeah. Why are you acting like something bad is coming? He looked at her. Because something bad is coming, Clara. Scarlett isn't done. Scarlett is never done until she wins. I need you safe while I get the paper that shuts her mouth. Okay. He went to the door. He stopped. He turned back. Clara. Yeah. Your mama's name was Rose. I know. That's a pretty name. It is. I'll be back. Miss Ada Willis lived in a narrow blue house with a porch that wrapped all the way around. Ethan parked, climbed the steps, and before he could knock, the door opened, and the old woman stood there with a shoebox in her hands. Come in, son. Miss Ada. Come in, sit. I made coffee. I don't need coffee, ma'am. You need coffee. Sit. He sat. She put the shoebox on the table between them. It was an old Buster Brown shoebox from maybe 1970. The corners were soft from handling. Open it. Miss Ada. Open it, Ethan. It is not mine to open for you, but it is yours to see before you take it to her. He opened it. Inside was a hospital bracelet. Pink. Tiny. The kind they put on a newborn's ankle. On it, typed in faded blue letters, a name. Baby girl Briggs Hayes. Mother Rose. Elaine Hayes. Under the bracelet, a hospital bill. A pink blanket folded small. And a letter. A thin, yellowed letter, folded in thirds, with Clara written on the outside in a young woman's handwriting. Ethan's chest went tight. Miss Ada, is this... Rose wrote that letter 2 days before she died. She asked me to hold it until her daughter was old enough to read it. She said, Ada, you will know when it's time. Ada, I have waited 24 years to know when it's time. Miss Ada, it's time, isn't it, son? Yes, ma'am, it's time. Then take it to her, all of it. And you tell her from me, from Ada Willis, that her mother loved her out loud and on purpose, and anybody who ever told her different is a liar, and will answer to the Lord for it. Ethan could not speak for a minute. Miss Ada. Yes, son. There is going to be a fight. I know there is. Scarlett is going to come. I know she is. She is going to try to make this look like Clara planned it all, like Clara knew, like Clara trapped me. I figured. Miss Ada, would you testify, if it came to it? Son, I will testify on the courthouse steps with a microphone if it comes to it. That girl has been paying for a sin that wasn't hers for 24 years. I have watched it. I have watched it from pew number 3 every Sunday. It ends now. He picked up the shoebox. It weighed almost nothing. Miss Ada, I don't know how to thank you. You marry that girl Ethan Cole, the right way, when she's ready. Not when the town wants you to, when she's ready. You hear me? Yes, ma'am. That is how you thank me. Yes, ma'am. He stood up. Ethan. Ma'am. One more thing. Yes, ma'am. You are going to get a phone call tonight, maybe in the next hour. It will be from a number you don't know. Answer it. Why? Because Walter Briggs had a son, and that son has been waiting 24 years for somebody in Red Hollow to ask the right question. I called him an hour ago. He is going to call you tonight, and what he is going to tell you, Ethan is going to make what I just told you look like the easy part. Ethan went cold. Miss Ada, what does he know? Son. Rose Hayes did not die of an illness. What? Rose Hayes was put out of this family because she got in the way of a business deal Henry Hayes was trying to make in Billings 25 years ago. And the trouble she got in up there, she did not get in it alone. Miss Ada, are you telling me? I am telling you to answer your phone tonight, Ethan Cole. And I am telling you that when you hear what Walter Briggs's boy has to say, you are going to understand why Henry Hayes has spent 24 years keeping one little girl quiet in his own house. Now go to her. She needs you more than I do. Ethan walked out of that blue house with a shoebox under his arm and a storm building in his chest. He got in his truck. He set the shoebox on the passenger seat, careful as a bomb. He pulled out his phone. There was a missed call from a number he did not know. It had come in 4 minutes ago. He stared at it. Then, very slowly, he pressed call back. It rang once, twice. A man's voice answered on the third ring. Older, rough, careful. "Mr. Cole." "Yes, sir." "My name is Daniel Briggs. My daddy was Walter Briggs. I believe Miss Ada told you I'd be calling." "Yes, sir, she did." "Mr. Cole, are you somewhere? You can listen." "I'm in my truck, sir. Pulled over. Go ahead." "Mr. Cole, I am about to tell you something that has been eating my daddy alive for 23 years, and it ate him until he died, and he made me promise on his deathbed that if anybody in Red Hollow ever came asking, I would tell the truth. Miss Ada told me today that somebody is asking. Is that right?" "That's right, sir." "Then you listen careful, Mr. Cole, because what Henry Hayes did to his sister-in-law 25 years ago, he did on purpose. And the girl in that wool coat my daddy carried up that drive, she was not supposed to make it to that porch." Ethan's hand tightened on the phone until it creaked. "Mr. Briggs, say that again." "You heard me, son. That baby was not supposed to make it. My daddy made sure she did. And Henry Hayes has been looking for a reason to bury her quiet ever since." Ethan did not speak for a long moment. The truck cab had gone very quiet. Even the wind seemed to have stopped. "Mr. Briggs." "Yes, son." "Say it one more time, slow, because I want to make sure I heard you." "Henry Hayes paid a man in Billings to make sure his sister-in-law and the baby she was carrying did not come home. My daddy was the man he called, and my daddy could not do it. My daddy could not do it, Mr. Cole." "And when Rose went into labor 3 weeks early in a motel outside Billings, my daddy drove her to the hospital himself and sat in that waiting room till that baby was born breathing. And then he drove that baby to Margaret Hayes's porch because Margaret was the only person on God's earth Rose trusted. And then he went home and drank for 23 years. Ethan closed his eyes. "Mr. Briggs." "Yes." "Is there proof?" "There is a letter my daddy wrote the week before he died. Notarized, sitting in a safety deposit box at First Montana Bank in Billings. My name is on the box, Mr. Cole. So is yours as of this afternoon. Miss Ada Willis called me at 1 o'clock, and I added you at 2. Mr. Briggs, you listen to me, son. My daddy carried that for 23 years. He could not sleep a full night. He could not look a little girl in the face. He would see a blonde child in a grocery store and have to leave the cart in the aisle. If that letter helps that girl stand up straight for the first time in her life, you take it. You take it and you use it." "Yes, sir." "One more thing, Mr. Cole." "Yes, sir." "Henry Hayes is not going to let that letter get out. He has spent 24 years making sure it doesn't. You be careful. Your truck, your girl, your house. You be careful, son." "Yes, sir." "God bless you." The call ended. Ethan sat in his truck for a full minute. His hands were not quite steady. He had been calm in the church. He had been calm on the porch. He was not calm now. He started the engine. He drove back to the cottage faster than he had driven anywhere in 10 years. He came up the drive and saw the porch light on, and her silhouette in the kitchen window, and something in his chest unclenched one notch. He parked. He took the shoebox under his arm. He went up the steps. She opened the door before he knocked. "Ethan." "Clara." "You look like somebody died." "Sit down, honey." "Ethan." "Sit down, please." She sat at the kitchen table. He set the shoebox in front of her, gentle as a sleeping baby. "Clara, this is yours." "What is it?" "Your mother's. Your real mother's. Miss Ada kept it for 24 years. Clara's hands came up to the lid, stopped, shook. "Ethan, I can't." "You can." "I can't open it." "Then we'll sit here till you can. I am not going anywhere." She breathed in. She breathed out. She lifted the lid. She saw the pink bracelet first. She picked it up with 2 fingers like it was a moth that might break. Baby girl Briggs Hayes. Yeah. Mother Rose Elaine Hayes. Yeah. Ethan. Yeah. This is me. That's you, honey. She put the bracelet down. She picked up the little blanket. She held it up to her face. She did not cry. She just breathed slow and careful through the soft pink weave, like she was trying to smell a woman she had never met. Then she saw the letter. Ethan? Yeah. There's a letter. Yeah. With my name on it. In her handwriting, Clara. Clara picked up the letter. She did not open it. She held it against her chest like a child holding a drawing home from school. Ethan, I want to be alone when I read this. Okay. Not because of you. I know. Because I have never in my life had a private thing. Scarlett went through my drawers. Mama read my diary. I have never had a thing that was just mine. Clara, can I have the bedroom? Yes, ma'am. Will you sit out here? I will sit right here. If I scream, will you come? In 1 second. Okay. She stood up with the letter. She walked to the bedroom. She closed the door. Ethan sat at the kitchen table with the rest of the shoebox and did not touch any of it. He waited. Behind the bedroom door, Clara Hayes, who had just learned in the space of one afternoon that her mother's name was Rose, sat on the edge of the bed and unfolded a piece of paper that had been waiting 24 years for her fingers. The handwriting was round and young. It was written in pencil. It was smudged in 3 places like the writer had been crying on it. Clara read it. She read it again. She read it a 3rd time. Then she put the letter against her mouth, and she made a sound. Ethan heard all the way through the door, and he was up and at the door in less than the 1 second he had promised her. But he did not open it because what was happening in that room did not belong to him. It belonged to a 21-year-old girl named Rose, who had written to her baby from a motel in Billings, and to a 24-year-old woman named Clara, who was finally being told in her own mother's voice that she had been wanted. He stood outside the door with one hand flat against the wood, and he waited. After a long time, the sound inside the room quieted. After a longer time, he heard her voice. Ethan. Yeah. You can come in. He came in. She was sitting on the edge of the bed. Her face was wet, but she was not broken. She was not breaking. She was sitting up straight, and she was looking at him with eyes he had never seen on her before. Ethan? Yeah, honey. She wanted me. I know, Clara. She wanted me so bad, Ethan. I know. She was 21. She was 21 years old, and she was scared, and she was sick, and she wrote me a letter because she was afraid she was not going to get to tell me herself. She says in here, Clara baby, I am sorry I am not going to get to rock you to sleep. I am sorry I am not going to get to tell you I love you with my own mouth. I am going to send you to your Aunt Maggie because your Aunt Maggie is the kindest person I know. And you listen, baby. You listen to me. You were not a mistake. Not 1 second of you was a mistake. Your mama picked you. Your mama picked you on purpose. And if anybody in this world ever tells you different, you tell them Rose Hayes said so. Ethan could not see for a second. Clara. Ethan, she picked me. I know, honey. She picked me on purpose. She sure did. She held the letter against her chest again. Ethan, I have to tell you something. Okay. There is more. More what? More in the letter. She looked at him. Her eyes went a shade harder. Ethan, my mama wrote that she was scared of Henry. He went still. What did she write? She wrote, if I do not come home, baby, it will not be because I did not fight. It will be because Uncle Henry did not want me to. You ask your Aunt Maggie. Your Aunt Maggie knows. The room went very quiet. Clara. Yeah. I need to tell you something too. And I need to tell you before you hear it from anybody else. Miss Ada put me on the phone with a man tonight. Walter Briggs' boy. The man who drove you to this town in a wool coat when you were 2 days old. Okay. Clara, your Uncle Henry Hayes paid Walter Briggs 25 years ago to make sure your mother and you never came home. Clara did not move. She did not blink. She did not breathe. Say that again, Ethan. Your Uncle Henry hired a man to make sure neither of you made it back to Montana. Walter Briggs could not do it. He took your mother to the hospital instead. He drove you to Margaret's porch, and he carried that for 23 years. Clara stood up. She walked past Ethan. She walked into the kitchen. She stood at the sink. She put her hands on the counter and she leaned on them. Ethan. Yeah. That man walked me down the aisle at my high school graduation. He gave a speech. He called me his little bookworm. He cried, Ethan. He cried in front of everybody when I got my diploma. Clara. He sat at the Thanksgiving table last year, and he said grace, and he thanked the Lord for family, and he looked me in the eye when he said it. Clara. He hugged me last Christmas, and he said, I love you, kid, and I said, I love you too, Daddy. I have been calling him Daddy for 24 years, Ethan. 24 years. Clara, honey. He tried to kill my mother. Clara. He tried to kill me. She did not cry. Her eyes were dry and wide, and something new was in them. Something Ethan had never seen on that face. Something he knew from watching men in bar fights, and men at cattle auctions, and men who had just found out they had been cheated, and it was not sadness. It was rage. Clean, slow, old rage. 24 years old. Ethan. Yeah. I want that letter from Walter Briggs. Okay. I want it in my hand. Okay. I want to walk into that house, and I want to put it on the kitchen table, and I want him to look at it, and I want him to know that I know. Clara? Ethan, I have never asked for anything in my life. I am asking for this. Okay, Clara. Do not say okay if you do not mean it. I mean it. Then we go to Billings in the morning. We go to Billings in the morning. She turned to him. And the woman who had 10 hours ago been called the leftover sister in front of 200 people in a Montana church was not that woman anymore. Ethan? Yeah. I am not going back to that house as a niece. Okay. I am going back as my mother's daughter. Yes, ma'am. And she is coming with me. He almost could not breathe. Yes, ma'am. They left for Billings at 5 in the morning. Ethan drove. Clara slept for the first hour hard, the way a person sleeps who has been carrying something heavy for a very long time and has just set it down. She woke up outside Big Timber and did not say anything for 20 miles. Then she said, Ethan. Yeah. When we get back. Yeah. I am not going to yell at Aunt Maggie. He glanced at her. Okay? She is not the one I am angry with. Okay. She was 29 years old when a man put a baby on her porch and told her to raise it, or the baby would die. What was she supposed to do, Ethan? Nothing else, honey. She is not the one. No, ma'am. But I am going to ask her one question when I get back, and she is going to answer it. What question? Why she let Scarlett talk to me like that for 24 years? Because she knew. She knew the whole time who I was, and she let Scarlett talk to me like I was nothing. And that I am angry about. Okay. That one I want an answer for. You'll get it. They hit Billings at 8:15. They were at the bank at 9:02. Daniel Briggs was waiting in the lobby. He was a heavy man in a clean shirt with his hands folded in front of him, and when Clara came through the door, he looked at her and his eyes filled up so fast he had to turn his face away for a minute. Miss. Mr. Briggs. Miss, I am Dan Briggs. My daddy drove you home. Clara walked up to him and without saying anything put both her hands on his forearm. He looked down at her hands like she had given him something he could not pay for. Mr. Briggs. Yes, miss. Thank you for driving me home. He broke. Right there's in the lobby of First Montana Bank he just broke, and this big gray-haired man in a clean shirt put his face in his free hand and cried. And Clara stood there with her hands on his arm and let him because she understood better than anybody in that lobby what it cost a person to carry a thing like that. After a minute, he got himself back. He wiped his face with his sleeve. Miss, I am sorry. Don't be. Let's go get that letter. They went to the safe deposit room. They opened the box. The letter was there, notarized, sealed, 11 pages, handwritten. Walter Briggs had put his whole confession on paper in the last week of his life. Names, dates, the motel, the money, the truck, the drive, all of it. Clara read the first page standing up. She read the second page sitting down. She did not read the rest. She folded the letter. She put it in her purse. "Mr. Briggs." "Yes, miss. Would you come back to Red Hollow with us?" "Miss?" "I am going to confront him today. I would like a witness who is not my fiancé." Daniel Briggs looked at Ethan. He looked at Clara. He nodded. "Yes, ma'am." "Can you leave right now?" "I can leave right now." They drove back in 2 trucks. Ethan and Clara in front. Daniel Briggs behind them. At noon, they pulled into Red Hollow. At 10 past noon, they pulled into the Hayes Drive. There were 3 other cars there that should not have been there. Scarlett's car, Cole Whitfield's car, and a sheriff's car. Clara looked at Ethan. "Ethan, I see it." "What is she doing?" "Nothing good." Ethan killed the engine. Clara. "Yeah. Whatever is in there, we walk in together and you do not say one word till I say go. Okay." "Okay. And you keep that letter in your purse till I say put it on the table." "Okay." They got out. Daniel Briggs got out behind them. The front door of the Hayes house opened before they reached the porch. Scarlett stood in the doorway. She had changed out of the wedding dress. She was wearing something soft and blue, and her face was carefully sad. "Ethan." "Scarlett." "I am glad you came. I was going to call you. Sheriff Pike is here. Mama is a wreck. Daddy asked him to come." "Why?" Scarlett's eyes flicked to Clara. "Clara, honey, we are worried about you." Clara did not answer. "We are worried you are having an episode. We are worried you have been well. We are worried about how you have been talking to Mama on the phone this morning, and Daddy thought, and Sheriff Pike agreed, that it would be best if we all just had a little conversation as a family." Clara's hand tightened on her purse strap. Ethan stepped forward between the 2 sisters, as smooth as a door closing. "Scarlett?" "Yes, Ethan." "Step aside, please. Ethan, Sheriff Pike is in the kitchen." "I heard you. Step aside." She stepped aside, slowly, her eyes on Clara the whole time. Ethan walked in. Clara walked in behind him. Daniel Briggs walked in behind her. Scarlett saw Daniel. She did not know him. But something in her face flickered. Who is that?" "A friend," Ethan said. "Kitchen's this way, right?" "Ethan." "Kitchen." They walked through the house. The Hayes family was sitting around the kitchen table. Margaret in her housecoat face red and raw. Henry at the head of the table gray, tired a man who had not slept. Sheriff Pike, a man Ethan had known since boyhood, in his brown uniform hat on the table, face uncomfortable. Cole Whitfield in his gray suit, arms crossed. And on the table between them, a manila folder. Henry looked up. "Ethan." "Henry." "Sheriff Pike is here because Scarlett. I know why he's here." Sheriff Pike stood up. "Ethan, I'm sorry to—" "Don't be sorry, Dave. You're doing your job. Before you do it, though, I'd like you to meet somebody." He stepped aside. "This is Daniel Briggs. His daddy was Walter Briggs. Walter Briggs drove Clara to this house 24 years ago. Daniel, would you tell the sheriff very briefly what his daddy did for a living before he drove a baby to Red Hollow?" Daniel Briggs took his hat off. His voice was low and rough. "Sheriff, my daddy was a man people hired when they needed something dirty done. And 25 years ago, he was hired by Henry Hayes to make sure his sister-in-law, Rose Hayes, and the baby she was carrying did not come home." Every eye in the kitchen went to Henry. Henry did not move. Margaret did. Margaret, who had been sitting like a woman in a pew, turned her head so slowly toward her husband that it looked like it was hurting her. "Henry." Henry did not answer. "Henry Allen Hayes, Maggie." "Henry, is he telling the truth?" Henry did not answer. Margaret's mouth opened and closed. Henry, is he telling the truth? Henry looked at his wife. 40 years of marriage, 2 daughters, one of them not his, and both of them, it turned out, strangers. He opened his mouth, and nothing came out. And Margaret Hayes, who had spent 24 years protecting this family's name, stood up out of her chair so fast she knocked it over backwards onto the kitchen floor, and she said in a voice Red Hollow had never heard out of her mouth in 40 years, "Get out! Maggie, get out of my kitchen, Henry. Maggie, let me get out, get out, get out." Scarlett stepped forward fast. Mama, let's all sit down, let's—" Scarlett Ann, you sit down and you shut your mouth. You knew he hired a man. I heard you on the phone last night. I heard you. Sit down. Scarlett sat down. Sheriff Pike cleared his throat. Folks, I think we need to move this conversation to the station. Clara spoke for the first time. Sheriff? Yes, ma'am. Before we move anywhere, I have one thing to put on this table, and then you can take whoever you want, wherever you want. She opened her purse. She took out Walter Briggs's letter. She put it on the kitchen table between her aunt, her cousin, and the man who had raised her. And Henry Hayes looked down at 11 pages of notarized handwriting in a dead man's script and went the color of wet ash. The kitchen held its breath. Sheriff Pike reached for the letter. He did not ask. He picked it up and he turned it in his hands and he looked at the notary seal and he looked at the signature and he looked at Henry Hayes. And the look on Sheriff Pike's face changed slow the way weather changes over a long valley. Henry? Dave? Henry, I have known you since we were 6. I know, Dave. Henry. I am going to read this letter out loud, right now, at this table, and I want you to tell me when I get to a part that is not true. You understand me? Henry closed his eyes. Dave. Tell me when I get to a part that is not true, Henry. Sheriff Pike began to read. He read for 9 minutes. He did not speed up. He did not skip. He read the motel address. He read the amount of money. He read the dates. He read the route Walter Briggs had been told to take. He read the river that had been chosen. He read the lie that was going to be told to the sheriff in Billings. He read the sentence where Walter Briggs wrote, "And I looked at that girl in the front seat of my truck, and she was asleep with one hand on her belly. And I knew I could not do what Henry Hayes had paid me to do. I am going to hell for the things I have done in my life, but I am not going to hell for this." Margaret Hayes made a sound that was not quite human. Scarlett did not make any sound at all. She was watching her father's face. Sheriff Pike finished the last page. He set the letter down. He looked at Henry. Henry. Dave. Henry, is any of this untrue? Henry Hayes opened his mouth. And for the first time in 62 years on this earth, Henry Hayes could not find a lie fast enough. Dave. Yes, Henry. I was 26 years old. Henry. I was 26 years old, and I was about to close a deal with a family in Billings, and Rose had. Rose had gotten involved with one of their sons, and it was going to come out, and I— Henry, is any of this letter untrue? Henry Hayes put his hands flat on the table. He looked at them for a long time. No, Dave, it is not untrue. Margaret Hayes slid down the cabinet behind her to the floor. She sat on the kitchen tile in her housecoat, and she did not cry. She just sat there with her eyes open, staring at nothing. Sheriff Pike stood up. Henry Allen Hayes, I am placing you under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder. Stand up, please. Hands behind your back. Scarlett stood up so fast her chair scraped. Sheriff, wait. This is a confession under duress. He is upset. He has not had a lawyer. Scarlett, sit down. Sheriff Pike, my daddy is 62 years old. He has— Scarlett, sit down, or I will arrest you for obstruction. I am not joking with you, girl. Sit down. Scarlett sat down. Sheriff Pike put the handcuffs on Henry Hayes in his own kitchen, in front of his wife on the floor, in front of his 2 daughters, in front of a man named Daniel Briggs, whose daddy had once on a cold February night refused to do the thing Henry had paid him for. Henry Hayes did not resist. As the sheriff walked him past, "Clara," Henry stopped. "Clara, don't. Clara, don't say my name. Clara, I raised you." She looked at him. 24 years of Sunday suppers. 24 years of being called his bookworm. 24 years of a hand on her shoulder at graduations and confirmations and the 2 funerals his family had dragged her to. 24 years. "You raised me," she said very quietly, "so nobody would ask who I was. You raised me so the story would stay buried. You did not raise me because I was yours. You raised me because I was evidence." Henry Hayes flinched like she had hit him. "Clara, I came to love you. No, sir." "Clara. No, sir. You came to tolerate me. Love would not have let Scarlett talk to me the way she did. Love would have spoken up. Not one time in 24 years, sir. Not one." "Clara, please." "Sheriff Pike." "Yes, ma'am. Please take him out of this kitchen. I cannot look at him anymore." Sheriff Pike took him out. The back door closed. The kitchen was very quiet. Margaret Hayes started very softly to cry on the floor. Clara stood still for a moment. Then she did something that surprised everyone in the room, including herself. She walked over, bent down, and put her hand on Margaret Hayes's hair. "Aunt Maggie." Margaret looked up. "Clara." "Aunt Maggie, I know you loved my mother." "Clara, baby." "I know you took me because she asked you to." "Clara." "And I am going to forgive you for that part. For the taking me. For the raising me. For the biscuits and the braids and the school lunches." "Clara?" "But I am not going to forgive you for letting her talk to me the way she did. I am not going to forgive you for that yet. I need time." Margaret nodded. She nodded hard like a child agreeing to a punishment. "Clara, take whatever time you need. Honey, take." "Stand up, Aunt Maggie." "Clara, stand up. Please, you are on the floor. My mother would not want her sister on the floor." Margaret Hayes, who had been Margaret Hayes for 40 years of a certain kind of pride, let a 24-year-old woman lift her off her own kitchen floor. Across the table, Scarlett was shaking. "Mama!" Margaret did not look at her. "Mama, you are going to comfort her. Her. After what she has done to this family today." Scarlett. "Mama, she walked in here with a letter. She walked in here and had Daddy arrested. Scarlett, shut your mouth." Scarlett's head snapped back like she had been slapped. "Mama, I said shut your mouth. I have spent 24 years listening to that mouth. I am done. Right now. At this table, I am done." "Mama, you cannot mean..." Scarlett Ann Hayes. "Mama, your daddy is gone. Your daddy was a coward and he is going to prison and he earned it. But you are something worse. You are something I helped make. And I am going to spend whatever years I have left trying to undo it if you will let me. But I am not going to let you open your mouth at that girl one more time in my kitchen. Do you hear me?" Scarlett stood up. "Mama, you are choosing her." "Yes, Scarlett, I am." "After everything. After everything." "Mama, I am your daughter." "Yes. And she is my sister's daughter. And my sister is dead because of the man I married. And I am going to be a mother to her for the time I have left Scarlett, because my sister cannot. And you are going to decide right now whether you want to be in this family the right way, or whether you want to leave." Scarlett's mouth worked. "Mama." "Right now, Scarlett." Scarlett looked at her mother. She looked at Clara. She looked at Ethan. She looked at Cole Whitfield, who had not spoken a word in 10 minutes, and was looking at the floor like a man who wanted very badly to be in a different kitchen. And then, Scarlett Hayes did what Scarlett Hayes had always done when the wind shifted. She softened her face. She softened her voice. She tried one more time, the only skill she had. "Mama." "Yes." "Mama, I love you." Scarlett. "Mama, I am sorry. I am so sorry. I have been hurting for so long. Scarlett, stop. Mama, please. Scarlett, it does not work on me anymore. Scarlett blinked. What? It does not work on me anymore. I watched you do it for 24 years to your sister, and I told myself you were a sensitive girl. I was a coward too, Scarlett. I was your father's kind of coward. And I am not going to be that anymore. Go upstairs, pack a bag. Go to your Aunt Charlotte's in Missoula. Stay there until you can come back into this house as a person who tells the truth. I do not know how long that will take. It may take years. It may take never. That is up to you. Mama, you are throwing me out of my own house. Yes. Because of her. No, Scarlett. Because of you. Scarlett's face did something terrible. The mask fell off. It just fell off in front of everybody, and what was underneath it was not the golden daughter of Red Hollow. What was underneath it was a 30-year-old woman who had never in her whole life been told no by the people who were supposed to tell her no. She turned to Clara. You. Scarlett. You think this is over. Scarlett. You think you can walk into my house and take my daddy and my mama and my town. Scarlett, stop. I will burn you down, Clara Hayes. Do you hear me? I have saved every letter. I have saved every photo. I have saved every single thing I have on you from 24 years, and I will put them all on the internet tonight, and I will make sure. Scarlett. Ethan's voice. Low. Final. Scarlett stopped. Scarlett, I told you in the church I know things about you. Plenty of things. I did not say them then because I thought maybe she would be too humiliated to try anything else. I was wrong. So I am going to say one of them now. At this table. In front of your mother. Just one. Scarlett's face drained. Ethan. No. 2 years ago, Scarlett, you asked me for a loan. $30,000. You told me it was for a business your daddy could not know about. Ethan, stop. You told me the business was a little salon you wanted to open in Bozeman. Ethan, there is no salon in Bozeman, Scarlett. There never was. I know where the money went, Scarlett. I have known for a year and a half. I did not say anything because you are your daddy's daughter, and I was going to marry into this family. Well, I am not marrying into this family anymore, am I? Scarlett's knees gave a little. She grabbed the back of the chair. Ethan, please. Your mama deserves to know, Scarlett. Tell her, or I will. Ethan, tell her. Ethan, please, Scarlett. Scarlett turned to her mother. Her face was white. Mama. What is he talking about, Scarlett? Mama, it was a mistake. I was in a bad place. Scarlett. Where did the money go? Mama. Scarlett Ann. Where did the money go? Scarlett closed her eyes. A man. A man. A man in Bozeman. He said he loved me. He said he was going to leave his wife. He said he needed help with some debts, and Mama, I was so tired of watching Ethan look at her. I just wanted somebody to... Margaret Hayes put her hand over her mouth. Scarlett. Mama. Scarlett, there is something deeply wrong in you, child. Deeply. And I have helped put it there. And I am going to live with that. But you are going upstairs now, and you are packing a bag, and you are going to Charlotte's, today, this hour. Do you hear me? Mama? Go, Scarlett. Scarlett looked around the kitchen one last time. At her mother. At her cousin, who was her sister. At the man she had been going to marry. At the stranger in a clean shirt whose dead daddy had refused to drown a baby. And Scarlett Hayes understood in one sharp second that the story of Red Hollow had just been rewritten, and she was no longer the main character in it, and she was never going to be again. She walked out of the kitchen. She walked up the stairs. A door closed. Cole Whitfield cleared his throat. Ethan? Cole. Ethan, about yesterday. About what I said, at the church. Cole. The double C deal. Cole. I do not want to talk about the deal right now. Ethan, I just want you to know I was out of line. I did not know the situation. I want you to know the deal. The deal is still on the table. The deal is... Cole. Yes. Go home. Ethan. Go home, Cole. I will call you Monday. Or I will not. We will see. Right now, I want you out of this kitchen. Respectfully. Cole Whitfield left the kitchen. And then there were 3 of them. Ethan, Clara, Margaret, and Daniel Briggs in the corner holding his hat. Clara turned to Daniel. "Mr. Briggs." "Yes, miss." "Would you stay for supper?" Daniel Briggs' eyes filled up again. "Miss, I have not met anybody on my mother's side of the story in 24 years. I would like to know about your daddy. I would like to know what he was like. I would like to know who held me in that truck, Mr. Briggs." Daniel Briggs nodded. He could not speak for a second. Then he said, "Miss, my daddy talked about you every Christmas of my life. He called you the little one. He would get to drinking and he would say, 'Danny boy, the little one, is going to be 9 years old next week. The little one is going to be 12. The little one is going to be 16. He kept count, miss. He kept count every year. I think he needed to know you were still out there." Clara made a small sound and pressed her hand to her mouth. "Mr. Briggs, tell me all of it. At supper. Tell me everything." "Yes, ma'am." "And Aunt Maggie?" "Yes, baby." "You cook. I will help. Mr. Briggs is our guest." Margaret nodded so hard her whole body moved. "Yes, Clara. Yes, baby. Whatever you want. Whatever you want." By sundown, the news had gone through Red Hollow like fire through dry grass. The richest man in the county had been arrested in his own kitchen. His golden daughter had been sent away. The leftover sister was not leftover at all. The leftover sister had a mother named Rose. The story Scarlett Hayes had uploaded to the internet the day before had been shared 40,000 times. By the next morning, a different video had replaced it. A video of Sheriff Pike himself standing on the courthouse steps saying into a reporter's microphone, "I would like to make it clear to the public that Miss Clara Hayes is the victim in this case, not the subject. Any suggestion otherwise coming from any member of the Hayes family or any account associated with the Hayes family is a lie, and I will personally look into charges against anyone who continues to spread it. That is all." The 40,000 shares turned overnight into something else. Into apologies, into confessions, into women in Red Hollow saying, "I saw her carry those groceries alone. I saw her sit with Mrs. Tully's mother. I saw her tutor my son for free. I knew, and I said nothing. I am sorry." Miss Ada Willis stood up in church the following Sunday, 81 years old, and told the whole congregation the story of a February night in 1998, and a man named Walter Briggs, and a baby in a wool coat. And when she was done, the church was silent for a full minute, and then old Mrs. Tully stood up, walked across the aisle to Clara's pew, and sat down beside her without a word, and held her hand for the whole sermon. Henry Hayes pled guilty 3 weeks later. His lawyers told him to. He was 62 years old, and the letter and the witness and his own wife's testimony were going to bury him at trial. He took 12 years. He would be 74 when he came home if he came home. He asked through his lawyer if Clara would come see him. Clara said no. She was not cruel about it. She was not angry. She just said through Ethan, "Tell him I forgive him because my mother would have wanted me to, but I will not visit. Tell him the forgiveness is for me, not for him." And that was the last sentence Clara Hayes ever sent Henry Hayes. Scarlett went to Missoula and did not come back for 2 years. When she came back smaller, thinner, quieter. She walked into her mother's kitchen on a Sunday morning and sat at the table and said, "Mama, I am in therapy. I have been for 18 months. I am not asking for anything. I just wanted you to know." Margaret Hayes cried and poured her coffee, and they sat at that table for 3 hours and did not say much, but they sat. And that was a start. Clara did not see Scarlett that first visit. She was not ready. She told her aunt so plainly. Margaret understood. A year after that, Clara let Scarlett into her house for an hour. Scarlett did not defend herself. Scarlett did not explain. Scarlett said, "Clara, I was a cruel child, and I grew into a cruel woman, and I blamed you for a story that was not your fault. I am sorry. I will not ask for forgiveness. I just wanted to say it out loud to your face because I owed you that." Clara looked at her a long time. Then she said, "Thank you, Scarlett. I do not forgive you yet. Maybe someday, I do not know, but thank you for saying it." And that was enough. For that day, it was enough. Ethan Cole did not marry Clara Hayes for a year and a half. He had promised Miss Ada he would wait until Clara was ready, not until the town was ready, and Clara took her time. She finished her teaching degree. She bought a small house in her own name. She read her mother's letter out loud to herself every Sunday morning for 6 months until she had the words by heart. She visited her mother's grave in Billings for the first time on a spring afternoon and knelt in the grass and said, "Mama, your daughter made it. Your daughter made it home." When she was ready, she told Ethan on the porch of the little cottage where he had taken her the night his world and hers had changed. "Ethan?" "Yeah." "I am ready now." "Okay, honey." "I want a small wedding. I want Aunt Maggie. I want Miss Ada. I want Mr. Briggs to walk me down the aisle. Would he do that?" "He will cry the whole way, Clara." "That is fine. Then he will do it." They married in the fall. The same church. Pastor Willis officiated. He had gotten thinner in the last 2 years, but his voice was strong. Miss Ada sat in the front row. Margaret Hayes sat beside her. Daniel Briggs walked Clara down the aisle and cried, as predicted, the whole way. Scarlett was not invited. Clara had thought about it for 3 weeks. She had decided in the end that Scarlett was welcome in her future, but not at her wedding, and Scarlett had written back, "Clara, I understand. I am proud of you. I wish you every happiness." That was all. It was enough. At the reception, Ethan stood up with a glass in his hand, and he looked at his wife across the room and he said, "2 years ago I stood in this church and I told this town I could make another $1 million, but I could not make another Clara. I want to say tonight that I was wrong about one thing. I did make another $1 million. Clara helped me make it. Clara also made me a better man than I was going to be. And there is only one of her, and she is my wife, and that is all I am going to say, because if I say any more, I am going to cry in front of all of you, and a cowboy has his pride." The room laughed. Clara laughed. Margaret Hayes put her head down on Miss Ada's shoulder and wept quietly. Outside the window, the Montana sky was the color it gets in October gold, going to dark, and in a small judgmental town called Red Hollow, the story of the rejected sister was being retold that night at 100 different supper tables, and in every one of those retellings she was not the rejected sister anymore. She was Rose Hayes's daughter. She was Clara Cole. She was the woman the richest cowboy in the county had picked in front of God and 200 people. And every one of them, it turned out, had been wrong about her. She was chosen. She had always been chosen. Her mother had chosen her first, in a motel outside Billings, with a pencil and a piece of paper and a hand that was already shaking. Her husband had chosen her second in a church with every eye in town on him. And on the night of her wedding, in the arms of the man who had refused to let her stay invisible, Clara Cole finally chose herself. And that is the day Red Hollow stopped telling the old story and started telling the true one.